We're taking a look at Down in Bermuda, a lighthearted puzzler set in an island world filled with vibrant colors, a relaxing soundtrack, and of course, just a little bit of mystery. It is available for $19.99 on PC via Steam, Epic Games, GOG, and Humble Store, and it's also on Apple Arcade, Nintendo Switch, and Xbox One. This review will be spoiler-free as much as I can avoid it. I won't be showing you how to solve any puzzles or much of the story past the first 30 minutes. The story centers around our main man, Milton, who has been lost in these islands for 30 years and is trying to find his way out of Bermuda and back to his family. As far as puzzle games go, there are more challenging puzzlers out there, so if you're a Mensa certified brainiac, you're probably gonna breeze through this. I, on the other hand, am on the pea-brained side of the spectrum, and Down in Bermuda took me right around 3 hours to complete. I think it achieves a happy medium of being challenging while still being accessible for the most people. Let's get into my review to talk more about it. Hey guys, it's Cody with Indie Game Pulse, where we bring you the hottest indie games with the coolest memes. Before we begin, please subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so that you can be sure not to miss another indie game review or countdown. It's quick and easy to subscribe, and it helps our channel and our community out a ton. Thank you so much for your support. I was given a review copy of this game, but I've done my best to stay objective in my critical evaluation. Let's start with the gameplay in Down in Bermuda. I found it to be multifaceted and very fun. As Milton seeks to find his way out of Bermuda, you progress through a linear series of islands, each differing from each other in nature and inhabitants. On some you'll find ancient animals, on others sentient artificial intelligence, and each one can help or hinder your progress forward. But the biggest roadblock standing in Milton's way is the abundance of puzzles. These, like I mentioned earlier, are what I would consider entry to mid-level, with none of them requiring more than 10 to 15 minutes at the most in my playthrough. I think this level of difficulty is actually just right for Down in Bermuda, as it is more of a casual style game to relax with, and not one where you want to be writing down notes and equations and taking coffee breaks to collect your thoughts. But Down in Bermuda is more than just a puzzle game, it also includes set collection, such as the orbs and artifacts that you find around every island. The game gives you a poke in the right direction whenever you find a star map, which shows each orb location from a top-down view. It's still up to you to explore and find each of them though, as they might be hidden under objects or even granted as part of completing a puzzle. This is something that I especially enjoyed about Down in Bermuda, that the puzzles and set collection aspects are not separate, but are intertwined nicely together so that you don't get bored or bogged down doing one thing or the other for too long. You will also collect keys, which correspond to chests, granting you some special rewards. The game does a nice job of not making full completion of each island necessary, or even possible in some circumstances before you move on to the next area. Once you unlock each island's portal by finding the needed number of large orbs, you're free to come and go as you please with the option to revisit past islands. If you're a completionist like me, this will be a necessity in order to collect all the keys, orbs, and artifacts. One last thing that you can collect on each island are individual photos, which seem to have been strewn about the different islands while Milton was busy crashing his plane. These snapshots show the story of Milton's life before Bermuda and serve as the catalyst in the story and Milton's adventure. Now, about the story, I thought it was good, but not great. It's told through short snippets of story as Milton seemingly looks at the photographs and flashes back to a short memory of them, almost like a live photo on your phone. And then Milton will have 1 or 2 lines of dialogue after reminiscing. These moments of dialogue didn't really hit home with me, and I think it's because there's no emotion or reaction shown physically. Often the game doesn't even show Milton on screen during these dialogues, instead just showing the area where you found the photo. I think the story would benefit greatly by showing Milton's body language of concern or sadness or hope of getting out of Bermuda and back home to his family, instead of simply showing his thoughts and relying on the player to infer his emotions. But there are times when the story stands out, and in my opinion it shines the most when Milton interacts with the island dwellers and they have a chance to hear his story and aid him on his journey. These moments transform you from feeling isolated alone in the islands, solving puzzle after puzzle, to having hope and a fighting chance of making it out, and like you have a ragtag group of friends in your attempt. Let's talk for a minute about the graphics and art style because I love them. I adore the cute and simple artistic style of Down in Bermuda, from the chunky plants and trees to the more complex animals and creatures. Every part of each island feels like it was handcrafted with love. Everything is vibrant and cheery, and it made me feel so relaxed while I played it. I think artistically it reminds me of a mix between a Monsters Expedition and Carto, but I'd love to hear down in the comments what it reminds you of. Occasionally, I ran into an issue where I could click through objects that should have been solid, like opening a chest through a roof, or starting to solve a puzzle that I hadn't even uncovered yet. Like all my other small gripes, which we'll talk about in a minute, these issues were not game-breaking, but sometimes I heard a sound effect and didn't know what it corresponded to because I couldn't actually see it. Let's talk for a minute about the controls, which are simple but confusing at the beginning, and to be honest, this is where I had the most issues in the game. However, I do think that most of them could be personal preference, but I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. If you think this stuff would bother you, or if I'm just being a crybaby. So the main area of control is the camera, or the viewing angle. I played on keyboard and mouse where left click and drag moved the camera through the world and right click and drag rotated the camera around an axis so that I could get differing views of the same island. Scrolling the mouse wheel zoomed in and out of where I was looking at the time. So, simple controls, right? Three main mechanics. I like that the developers kept it simple, but in some worlds, the rotational axis actually felt a little bit off-centered. Specifically the Secret Base Island, which is the second area, where the axis seemed out of place and rotation felt just off. Also, it took me a solid hour to learn which way to move the mouse to rotate how I wanted. When I wanted to rotate left, I always started going right first, and vice versa. Again, this may just boil down to my pea-brain, but it would have been nice to have an inversion option in the menu. And lastly, I just didn't love the camera angle. I know I'm being nitpicky, but I found that often when I zoomed in to get a closer look at something, the camera seemed to be facing too far downward and cut out a lot of the context of the area. I think the ability to move the camera up and down the y-axis would have done wonders for my playthrough, but I also see it as a creative decision, and some of you may prefer the isometric angle. Now, since I was playing an advanced release of the game, I was able to bring my admittedly small issues to the developers and let them know my opinions, and they confirmed that they will be discussing those for a future update. Now on to another area of Down in Bermuda that I did thoroughly enjoy, which is the soundtrack and music, which seemed to blend in naturally while I was concentrating on puzzles, and then filled the gaps nicely while I was reading on-screen conversations. The music is light and upbeat, which fits the Chill Island theme very well and definitely added to the game and didn't distract. During the story cutscenes, the music also switches up and sets those scenes up nicely to leave a lasting impact on you, the player, even though those moments are brief. So the question is, should you play Down in Bermuda? I think so. Even with my minor gripes, it's easy to look past them when the majority of the game is as enjoyable as this one was. I played Down in Bermuda as a reprieve from action roguelike games and had a really good time just settling in and enjoying the scenery and giving my brain a little workout. The art style is simple but wonderfully peaceful, and I really enjoyed the vibrant islands and diverse puzzle styles. I think the price point of $19.99 is a little high for around a 3-hour game, and I would probably put it in the 15-ish range, especially since the replayability, in my opinion, is not very high once you've completed all the challenges. But I digress. I enjoyed the game a lot, and I think if you're the type of person who enjoys casual puzzlers or chill games in general, that you will really enjoy this one as well. Thank you so much for watching my review of Down in Bermuda. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to subscribe so you can be notified when I publish my next indie game review, and let me know in the comments what you think of Down in Bermuda. I'd love to hear from all of you out there. Thank you to each of my 82 subscribers for your continued support. For more indie game reviews and countdowns, check out the videos on your screen now, and I'll see you on the other side.